Hello, hello. Is anybody here? Hello. Hello. Welcome to chapter one. This week's chapter one is Stained Secrets, which is the next book in the Killer Coffee Cozy Mystery series. If you guys are ready, let's go with chapter one. Chapter one. The warm, nutty, freshly roasted coffee beans filled the air, wrapping around me like a hug on a chilly morning. The roastery tucked behind the bean hive's bustling kitchen was my sanctuary. This was where the magic happened, the place where I turned tiny green beans into liquid gold, one roast at a time. I wiped my hands on my apron and it was already stained with a kaleidoscope of coffee huge smudges. And I leaned over the roaster, inhaling the toasty caramelized scent coming from the drum. Heaven, I sighed. All right, beauties, let's see what you've got, I muttered, twisting a knob to release a test scoop of beans. They rattled against the metal like tiny marbles as they spilled into the cooling tray. My eyes scanned their color, which was rich, medium brown, with just the hint of an oily sheen starting to surface. Perfect. Well, at least I hoped it was perfect. I jotted down the time and the temperature in my coffee journal, the leather bound notebook that rarely left my side. The page was already filled with scribbles, arrows pointing to crossed out roast levels, and notes of, quote, too sharp, reduce heat in second crack, and, quote, nuttier than expected, so shorten development time. Coffee roasting was as much of a science as art. And sometimes I felt like a mad scientist chasing the perfect brew. Not really much different than my past career as a lawyer, only I enjoyed this so much more. The hum of the roaster vibrated through the room, steady and soothing, a rhythm I'd come to love. I turned the cooling tray and watched the beans dance as the fan blew over them. Their earthy smell mingled with the warm, toasty air. The aroma made me want to close my eyes and just breathe. Grabbing a silver scoop, I measured out just enough beans for a pour over. Testing a roast was the final and most rewarding step in the process. I filled the kettle with water and turned it on. The faint hiss and burble, adding the symphony of the roastery. While the water heated, I ground the beans, listening for the soft, familiar crackle as they fell into the ceramic filter. Oh, you are going to be so good, I whispered, smiling at the fragrant, chocolatey smell that rose from the grinder. I can feel it. The water came in just the right temperature, not too hot or it would scald the grounds, and too cool and it wouldn't extract the full flavor. So, with the right temperature, I poured in a slow, steady stream, watching as the coffee bloomed. Little bubbles danced on the surface, releasing the essence of the roast. The first notes hit my nose, a deep caramel, a hint of citrus, and something I couldn't describe but as just cozy. That was the thing about coffee. It wasn't just a drink, it was a feeling, a memory, a moment. It was the sound of laughter over a steaming cup of coffee, a comfort, quiet morning, the start of a conversation you didn't know you needed to have. And as I took a sip, letting the liquid roll over my tongue, bright but not too sharp, sweet with just the right amount of nuttiness to balance it out, and a soft, chocolatey finishing lingered, warm and inviting. Yes, this was the one. But now for the hard part. That was naming it. So I sat back in my chair, my pen tapping against my notebook, and I started a list of potential names I'd been jotting down for the past week. Caramel Dream, that was just too obvious. Morning Bliss, that kind of sounded like a shampoo. Boardwalk Roast. Boardwalk Roast. Now that felt right, but it lacked the spark I wanted. I chewed on the edge of my pen and the taste of plastic faintly bitter against my lips. What was it about this roast that made it so special? Something with love? I murmured and flipped the page in my notebook. Love was at the heart of everything I did here at the Bean Hive coffee shop. From the way we greeted customers to the way we baked every muffin, we poured love into everything. And that was why people came here, not just for the coffee, but for the warmth, the connection, and the way it brought the community together and people together. A latte love, I said aloud, testing the words on my tongue. A grin spread across my face. The name was simple, sweet, and just as cheeky, just like the bean hive itself. I scribbled the name at the top of the page and underlined it 3 times for good measure. That's it, I declared, raising my mug in a good toast. To latte love, I said. The roaster gave a loud beep, reminding me that it wasn't done yet, and there were batches to finish, bags to seal, and orders to prep. But for now, I let myself savor this moment. The warmth of the mug in my hands, and the scent of the freshly roasted beans in the air, and the quiet hum of the roastery all reminded me why I'd left my old life for this one. This wasn't just a job. I poured my heart and soul into every cup, every roast, and cherished the smile of every person who walked through the Bean Hive's door. And if I could share one little bit of love with the world, then it was worth every early morning and every late night. And just as I was about to make an even bigger batch so I could start offering it in the coffee shop, I heard Bunny Bowowski, my 80-something-year-old employee, fussing with someone. Her voice carried through the swinging door that separated the roastery from the main kitchen, sharp and full of indignation. I said you can't go in there. It's against health code department. Bunny's words were punctuated by the solid thump of her orthopedic shoe against the tile floor, a sound I had come to recognize as a personal stomp of disapproval. I'm not a customer. I'm here to see someone, the woman replied, her voice tinged with an annoyance, but unmistakably familiar to me. My hand froze mid scoop, coffee beans spilling over the counter. That voice. I knew I'd heard it before, but I couldn't place it. I don't care if you're the Queen of England, Bunny Bowowski huffed. You're not going to get past this door without permission. I sighed and set the scoop down, brushing and spilling the beans into my hand. Bunny was always in fine form when she decided someone needed a good scolding, and with her ever present shawl draped over her shoulders, her slow, deliberate movements, and her chin length, still gray hair, framing a face that had seen decades of determination, was an opponent for anyone who crossed her path. But for now, her sharp voice carried the weight of her no nonsense demeanor. Bunny, I called, pushing through the swinging door of the main kitchen. What's going on out here? Bunny stood her ground. Her arms were crossed over her floral apron, her shawl slipping slightly down one shoulder. Her eyes darted to me with the same exaggerated look she gave when she thought I was about to side with the enemy. This woman, she said, pointing a slightly crooked finger to the intruder, she thinks she could just walk back in there like she owns the place. I turned my gaze to the woman in question and froze. She stood tall and poised, her honey blonde hair swept into a sleek ponytail, her emerald green eyes locking to mine. She wore a designer trench coat, the kind you didn't find in Honey Springs, Kentucky, unless someone got lucky at the boutique sale up in Lexington. Her heels gleamed with the kind of polish that practically screamed big city. Roxy, she said, her face and voice softened and a smile spread across. It's me, Vanessa. Vanessa? I stepped forward, my own wild curls falling in front of my face, and I pushed back the dark, springy strands. I blinked several times to try to match the polished woman in front of me with the memory of my college roommate. What on earth are you doing here? Bunny, who had moved an inch, muttered her to her breath. I told her she couldn't come back there. Rules are rules, Roxy. I placed a hand on Bunny's shoulder, feeling the comforting texture of her shawl under my palm. Thanks, Bunny. I'll take it from here. I couldn't stop the smile or the excitement from deep inside of me bubbling up. With an exaggerated sigh, Bunny finally stepped aside, but not without shooting one last disapproving glance at Vanessa. Fine, she said, her slow shuffle signaling her retreat. But don't say I didn't warn you if she brings trouble. Vanessa's heels clicked against the tile floor as she stepped into the kitchen, her radiant smile softening as she wrapped her arms around me. The faint scent of something floral and expensive clung to her, polished as the rest of her. It is so good to see you. It's been what, like 10 years? She asked. Well, maybe closer to 15, I said, pulling back to get a better look at her. Her face hadn't changed much except for maybe a little bit more confidence etched in her feature. Because you left right after our sophomore year to pursue your big modeling gig, I reminded her. And I was pretty sure the morning humidity had already caused my curls to rebel, framing my face in a way that felt anything but polished, like my roommate standing in front of me. What are you doing in Honey Springs? I thought you were living the high life in New York, I said, letting her know I did follow my famous roommate on all the social medias. I was, but life has a funny way of throwing you a curveball. She gave out a laugh, but there was something in her eyes, a flicker of unease, quickly masked by her unusual charm. I'm here for work. My modeling agency booked me as the new face of Celestial Essence spring campaign, and they're shooting the perfume ad right here in Honey Springs. Here? In Honey Springs? I raised a brow, gesturing to the humble kitchen around us. I didn't even know our little town was on the radar for something so big. Oh, it is now. Vanessa laughed, was light, but her hand fidgeted with the strap of her designer purse. Actually, it was my idea. I showed him the creative director, the social media pages, and the photos of the bean hive and the boardwalk and the marina. They thought it was a perfect backdrop for the campaign. Bunny, still lurking just an earshot away, snorted. Can you imagine anyone picking this place for perfume? Ha! Then she muttered, smells like fish half the time. Vanessa ignored her and turning her full attention back to me. Well, I was hoping we could catch up, Roxy. It's been too long, and, well, I could really use a friend right now. She smiled and tilted her head. Something in her voice tugged at me, a vulnerability I didn't associate with the confidence larger than life of Vanessa I had known in college. Well, of course, I said, motioning her towards a stool. Come sit down and I'll make us some coffee. Oh, no need, she said quickly, glancing at her watch. I can't stay long. I want to walk around and scout out some good locations to suggest when the photographers and the magazines come to town. Maybe tonight we could have dinner, drinks, and you can tell me all about this adorable coffee shop of yours. I can fill you in on a very dramatic life that I've been leading. Sure, I said, trying to wrap my head around the fact that she was still here. You're staying at the Cocoon Inn? I asked. Oh, no, she shook her head. The agency rented me this cute Airbnb near the park downtown. Something about needing space for all my luggage, she said with a smile. But honestly, I'm in town a day early, which means it's not ready today. So staying with you sounds perfect. One night, if that's okay. Oh my gosh, of course it is, I said, already imagining how Patrick and I would arrange the cabin to make her comfortable. I'll meet you after work and we'll catch up. Vanessa smiled, softened, and for a moment she looked almost relieved. Thank you, Roxy. I knew I could count on you. She hugged and squeezed me hard before she turned and headed out the swinging door, her heels tapping out a farewell. Bunny turned to me with a skeptical look. Are you sure about this, Roxanne Bloom? She asked. She seems a little fancy. She's just Vanessa, I said, though I wasn't sure entirely if that was true anymore. It'll be fine, I told Bunny. Chapter 1, Stained Secrets. And it's now available for pre order because it is going to be releasing at the end of this month.